Speaking English with Anna.
Hello. Welcome back to the Speaking English with Anna podcast. This is your safe space to relax, enjoy some English conversation, and improve your life at the same time. I'm Anna.
And I'm Mike. We are so happy to have you here with us again. Whether you're doing the dishes, driving to work, or just lying in bed avoiding your laundry, we're glad you chose to spend this time with us.
Avoiding laundry. That sounds like you, Mike. Are you speaking from experience?
Always, Anna. Always. Actually, learning English is the best way to feel productive while you're actually procrastinating on other things, don't you think?
I totally agree. You're not wasting time, you're growing your brain. And speaking of growing, I had a very interesting, slightly uncomfortable moment this morning that made me think of today's topic.
Oh, tell me everything. Did you forget your keys again?
Nope, not today. I was at the elevator in my apartment building and my new neighbor walked in. We stood there for 30 seconds in total silence. I wanted to say something, but my brain just stopped. I couldn't even think of how to say good morning naturally.
The elevator silence. That is the ultimate test of English, isn't it? That feeling when you want to connect, but you're afraid of saying something boring or making a mistake.
Exactly. And that is exactly what we're talking about today. We're calling this episode The Power of Small Talk, Making Connections Without Fear. We're going to talk about why these tiny conversations are actually a big deal and how you can master them without feeling like a robot.
I love that. But before we reveal our secret tools for small talk, we have a tiny favor to ask.
Yes, if you enjoy our podcast and you want to support us, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel, Speaking English with Anna. It really helps other learners around the world find us.
And stay with us until the end, because we have our special word tour where we explain the most useful phrases from today's talk so you can use them immediately.
All right, Mike, are you ready to stop the silence and start the small talk?
Ready when you are. Let's dive in. So, Anna, let's go back to that elevator moment. You're standing there, the neighbor is right next to you, and it's quiet. What was actually happening inside your head?
Oh, it was like a loud argument in my brain, Mike. One part of me said, say something about the weather, but another part whispered, no, that's too boring, they'll think you're weird. And then a third part said, what if you use the wrong tense and they don't understand you?
Wow, that's a lot of voices for a 30-second elevator ride. And you know what? That is exactly what our listeners feel. We call it analysis paralysis.
Analysis paralysis. I love that term. It's when you think so much about the how that you forget to just do, right?
Exactly. For many English learners, the problem isn't that they don't know the words. They know hello, how are you, and nice weather. The real problem is perfectionism. We feel that if the sentence isn't 100% perfect, it's better to say nothing at all.
That's so true. We treat a simple conversation like a grammar test. We're waiting for the perfect sentence to arrive in our heads, but by the time it arrives, the neighbor has already left the elevator.
Exactly. And there's another thing, cultural pressure. In some cultures, small talk isn't very common, so when you try to do it in English, it feels fake or unnecessary. You start thinking, why am I talking about the rain? We both can see it's raining.
I felt that so much when I first moved abroad. I thought small talk was a waste of time. But then I realized small talk isn't about the weather. It's a social bridge. It's a way to say, I see you, I'm friendly, and I'm open to talking to you.
I love that. It's a bridge, not a wall. But when we're afraid of making mistakes, we build a wall instead. We look at our phones, we pretend to be busy, and we miss a chance to make a new friend or a professional connection.
And let's be honest, Mike, making a mistake in front of a stranger feels scarier than making a mistake in a classroom. In a classroom, it's expected, but in the real world, we're afraid people will judge our intelligence based on our English level.
Which is almost never true. Most people are just happy that you are talking to them. They aren't counting your grammar mistakes, they're just listening to your ideas.
So the problem is a mix of perfectionism, the fear of being judged, and not understanding that small talk is just a social signal. It's not a deep philosophy, it's just a hello with extra steps.
Well said. So now that we know why it's hard, should we talk about how to make it easy?
Definitely. Let's look at some practical tools that our listeners can use today. All right, Mike, let's get practical. I'm ready to learn. What is this first tool we're giving our listeners today?
The first strategy is something I call the question bridge. It is the simplest way to make sure a conversation doesn't die after 5 seconds. Anna, what is the biggest conversation killer you know?
Oh, that's easy. It's the one-word answer. When you ask someone a question and they just say yes or good, and then nothing, just silence.
Exactly. And learners do this all the time because they are scared of making long sentences. But the question bridge fixes this. Here's the rule. Every time you answer a question, you must throw a question.
All right, Mike, let's get practical. I'm ready to learn. What is this first tool we're giving our listeners today?
The first strategy is something I call the question bridge. It is the simplest way to make sure a conversation doesn't die after 5 seconds. Anna, what is the biggest conversation killer you know?
Oh, that's easy. It's the one-word answer. When you ask someone a question and they just say yes or good, and then nothing, just silence.
Exactly. And learners do this all the time because they are scared of making long sentences. But the question bridge fixes this. Here's the rule. Every time you answer a question, you must throw a question back. You don't let the ball stay in your hands. You pass it back to the other person.
I love that analogy. It's like a game of tennis. If I don't hit the ball back, the game is over. Can we show them how this looks in real life? Let's do a bad example first. Let's pretend we are at a coffee shop. I'll be the person starting the talk, and you be the learner who doesn't use the bridge.
Hey, that's a nice laptop. Is it good for editing videos?
Yes, it's fast.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Ouch, that felt so cold, Mike. I felt like I was closing a door in your face, even though I didn't mean to.
Exactly. I didn't feel like you were bad at English. I felt like you didn't want to talk to me. That's the danger. Now, let's try it with a question bridge. Same situation. Hey, that's a nice laptop. Is it good for editing videos?
Yes, it's very fast. I use it for my design projects. What about you? Do you use a Mac or a PC?
Actually, I'm a PC person, but I've been thinking about switching. Is the battery life okay?
It's amazing. It lasts all day. Are you looking for something for work or just for travel?
See, the conversation just keeps flowing naturally, and all you did was add a tiny question at the end of your answer.
That is a huge relief for a learner. But Mike, what if someone is really nervous and can't think of a specific question like Mac or PC?
Keep it simple. You can use universal bridges. These are questions that work in almost any situation. For example, how about you? What do you think? Or have you ever tried that?
Those are perfect. You don't need to be a genius, you just need to be curious. I realize something. The person who asks the questions is actually the person in control of the conversation.
100% true. If you're nervous about speaking, be the person who asks. It sounds like you're a great communicator, but really, you're just letting the other person do 70% of the work.
That's a genius hack, Mike. I think my neighbor at the elevator would have loved that. If I had just asked, "Have you lived in this building long?" the 30 seconds of silence would have vanished.
It's never too late to start. Maybe next time. But before we move to our next tool, let's talk about the words we use to keep that flow going.
So, Mike, we have the bridge, we know how to throw the ball back, but what happens during those 2 or 3 seconds when my brain is searching for a word? I hate that or sound. It makes me feel like I'm failing.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That brings us to strategy 2, filler words. These are the secret ingredients that make you sound like a native speaker even when you're confused.
Filler words? You mean like well and actually?
Exactly. Think of them like a loading screen on a computer. When the computer is thinking, it shows you a little spinning circle so you know it hasn't crashed. Filler words tell the other person, my brain is still working, please don't stop listening.
That makes so much sense because usually when I go silent to think, the other person thinks I'm finished talking and they start speaking. Then I get frustrated.
Right, you lost your turn. But if you use a filler, you keep your turn. Let's try a little experiment. I'm going to ask you a difficult question. First, try to answer it with 0 filler words, just silence while you think.
Okay, I'm ready. Ask me.
Anna, if you could move to any city in the world tomorrow, where would you go and why?
Tokyo, because I love the food.
That silence felt like an eternity, didn't it? It felt like the connection was lost. Now, try the same question, but use fillers like, well, let me see, or that's a good question. Anna, if you could move to any city in the world tomorrow, where would you go and why?
Well, let me see. That's an interesting question. To be honest, I've always dreamed of moving to Tokyo. I mean, the food is incredible and I love the culture.
Wow, do you hear the difference? You took the same amount of time to think, but you sounded totally confident.
I felt more confident too by saying, that's an interesting question. I gave myself 3 whole seconds to actually think about the answer. It's like buying time.
It is, and there are different fillers for different moods. If you want to disagree politely, you can start with actually or to be fair. If you are telling a story and forgot a word, you can say, how should I put it? Or what's the word I'm looking for?
I love what's the word I'm looking for because it's honest. It shows the other person you are trying. Most people are kind. They might even help you find the word.
Exactly. Native speakers use these all the time. We rarely start a sentence immediately. We say so or basically thousands of times a day.
So the lesson here is don't be afraid of the gap. Just fill the gap with a little bit of English glue.
Perfect description. It's the glue that holds your thoughts together. If you use a bridge to ask a question and a filler to answer one, you are already talking 50% more than before.
This is changing my whole perspective on perfect English. It's not about being fast, it's about being continuous.
Spot on, Anna. Continuous beats perfect every single time.
This is changing my whole perspective on perfect English. It's not about being fast, it's about being continuous.
Spot on, Anna. Continuous beats perfect every single time. And the best part is, fillers actually make you sound more human. When someone speaks perfectly like a textbook, it's hard to connect with them. But when you say, well, I was thinking, it feels like a real conversation between friends.
I noticed that you use quite a lot, Mike. Is that a filler too?
It's one of the most common ones. I use, when I want to check if you're following me, or just to give my mouth a half second to catch up with my brain. Other common ones are I mean and actually. For example, if I make a small mistake, I don't stop and apologize. I just say, I mean, and correct myself.
Oh, I like that. Instead of saying, sorry, my English is bad, I can just say, I mean, and try the sentence again. It keeps the energy positive.
Exactly. Actually is another great one. It's perfect for when you want to add a new detail or change the direction of your thought. Like, I love Italian food. Actually, I had the best pasta of my life last night. It sounds so much more fluid than just listing facts.
Mike, I used to think that using these words meant my English was weak. I thought it meant I didn't know enough vocabulary. But now I see that even native speakers use them to manage their thoughts.
We really do. In fact, if you don't use fillers, you might sound a bit like a robot or a GPS navigation system. Turn left, stop, go straight. That's not how people talk. We say, so basically, you're going to want to go left over there, and then, well, you'll see the shop on the right.
That's a great point. It adds a rhythm to the language. But I have to ask, is it possible to use too many fillers? I don't want to sound like I'm saying every 2 seconds.
That's a fair question. The goal is to use meaningful fillers. Instead of just making a sound like, use a phrase like, let me think about that for a second. It sounds professional and deliberate. It shows that you are a deep thinker, not just someone who forgot their English.
I see. So it's about trading noises for phrases. Instead of a nervous sound, I use a confident phrase to buy myself time.
Precisely. It's about taking control of the silence. When you use a filler, you're telling the listener, I'm in control. I'm just choosing my words carefully. It completely changes how the other person sees you.
This is such a relief. I feel like I just got permission to breathe during my conversations. I don't have to rush anymore.
You definitely don't. Rushing is the enemy of clear speaking. If you slow down and use your glue words, your accent actually becomes easier to understand because you're giving the listener time to process what you're saying too.
It's a win-win situation. I get time to think and they get time to listen. Now, Mike, I think we've covered the how-to of the conversation, but we used some pretty specific words today. Should we move on to our word tour and break them down for our listeners?
I think it's time. Let's slow things down even more and look at our vocabulary list.
I think it's time. Let's slow things down even more and look at our vocabulary list. Welcome to the word tour.
I love this part of the show. Is where we take the heavy words we used and make them light. The first word on our list today is a big one, awkward. Anna, how would you explain awkward to a friend?
Well, awkward is that uncomfortable feeling when something is weird or embarrassing. Like when you wave at someone you think you know, but it's actually a stranger. That feeling in your stomach, that is awkward.
Exactly. Or that long silence in the elevator we talked about. That was an awkward silence. Our second phrase is analysis paralysis. This sounds like a medical term, but is actually about your brain.
I remember this one. It's when you think so much about a problem, like grammar or the right word, that you become paralyzed. You can't move, you can't speak, because you are overanalyzing everything.
Right. You are thinking so hard about being perfect that you end up doing nothing. And speaking of nothing, our third word is filler. In English, a filler is something you use to fill an empty space.
Like the glue we discussed, words like well, actually, and basically. They aren't the main message, but they fill the silence so the conversation doesn't stop.
Perfect. Next, we have a phrase I used earlier, to buy time. When you buy time, you aren't using money. You are doing something to get more minutes or seconds to finish a task.
So when I say, that's an interesting question, I am buying time to think of my answer. I'm getting 5 extra seconds for free.
Exactly. It's a smart trade. And our final word for the tour is continuous. This is the opposite of broken or stopped.
If something is continuous, it keeps going without stopping, like a river. We want our English to be continuous even if it has some small mistakes. It's more important to keep the flow than to be perfectly correct and stop every 2 seconds.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Continuous over perfect. That's our golden rule for today.
Those are such powerful words to remember. Awkward, analysis paralysis, filler, to buy time, and continuous. I hope our listeners can pick at least one of these and try to use it this week.
Even just one is a huge win. Remember, progress is about small steps, not big jumps.
Well said, Mike. And that brings us to the end of our episode today. I feel much more confident about my next elevator ride now.
Me too. No more awkward silences for us. But before we go, we want to hear from you. We have a small challenge for our community.
Yes, go to the comments section right now and tell us, what is one situation where you always feel analysis paralysis? Is it at work, at a party, or maybe at the grocery store?
We read every single comment, and we love hearing your stories. It makes this podcast feel like a real conversation with all of you around the world.
Thank you so much for joining us on Speaking English with Anna. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with a friend who needs a little boost in their conversation skills.
Take care of yourselves. Keep practicing those bridges, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye-bye, everyone.
See ya.